Hey everybody, it's Dr. Debbie Pates. I just decided I'm going to move that. Oh yeah, so I wanted to be wearing my mask. Um, and I hope you guys can still hear me. As you can see, I am in my office today. I'm on campus and I don't actually need to wear my mask in my office on campus, but I do really think it's so important for us to wear our masks when we are on campus and when we are out in public. Um, this virus is still with us. I'm going to take this off because I don't know. I'm probably muffled, but the virus is still with us, and we really need to stay vigilant about it. And I want our campus to be able to stay open as best as we can. So we really need to all play along. And so please, you guys, I know it's not the most comfortable thing, but let's wear our masks. Um, so, all right. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I forgot what it was called for a second. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday virtual yoga at GOCA. And if you saw my little preview that I put online yesterday, we are going to be using a strap today. If you have a strap, I'm proud of myself for remembering to bring it coming to the office. If you have a strap, great. If not, it would be easy to use almost anything else that just gives you a little bit of reach. So an old necktie or a towel. And let's see, what else did I want to say? Oh yeah, speaking of wearing masks, the gallery, our beloved old home, GOCA, Gallery of Contemporary Arts on campus, which is a co-sponsor of Wellness Wednesday, along with the Wellness Center, where I actually am right now, is open. The gallery is open for appointment-only visits. So please take advantage of that and miss our beautiful space. And you would have to wear a mask there. We've also been thinking about, Daisy McGowan, the director, and I, about maybe doing an outdoor yoga. The weather seems to be holding. I meant to check it right before I jumped on with you guys today, but I forgot, honestly. But anyway, excuse me. We would be able to do yoga outdoors. I would need all you guys to bring your own mats, water, any other props that you might want. We would have to wear masks, even though we are outside, and I know a lot of us, including myself, if I'm running on a trail and I'm able to stay 6 feet away from people, I'm not going to wear a mask. But when we are on campus, even outside, we need to wear our masks. And so we'd have to practice with our masks on. And I also don't know whether it would be practical to film simultaneously, especially if I'm wearing a mask, because I would be concerned that my voice is muffled. So I guess why I'm saying this is it's something that we're thinking about. I have a calendar over here. Let me look. Today is September 30th. Next week would be October 7th. The week after that, 14th, I'm guessing. So I don't know how long the weather's going to hold. This is probably something we need to jump on. So if you guys could give me some feedback about that, whether that is something that would be appealing, or I know you can take your mat outside any day you want while we're virtual. So anyhow, that is way more than enough me talking. I have a great idea. Maybe I just did that to give you guys time to go run and get a strap if you needed one. But here's my great idea. Let's do some yoga. Come on into child's pose. Bring your forehead to the ground. So come onto your knees and bring your forehead to the mat. And from there, make a couple of decisions. Do you want your knees to be open wide? Well, first, do you want your knees to be open wide? Do you want your knees to be together? And you can always kind of experiment, even if you'll have to wiggle around down there, right? But if you've never done it with your knees together. Maybe do that today, and vice versa. Because it really does impact different parts of your body. And if we do, I know that a lot of times we get in almost a rut of doing something the same way over and over again. But especially with yoga, if we do the same thing the exact same way every single time, we can certainly notice progress, like my I'm bending down and able to touch the floor a little more easily, and that's nice. But if we do everything, if we take the shapes in our bodies the exact same way every single time, then it hits the same exact muscles every time. And so giving ourselves the space and the freedom to take the shapes a little bit differently is going to actually impact muscles and tendons differently and give us a wider range of benefit from the same practice. So even in a practice like today's, that's going to be, a lot of really similar postures, there's room to explore how am I showing up today physically. There's room to explore, do I want to do this shape, take this shape a little bit differently and maybe impact a different part of my body. And it's a subtle difference, right? It's not going to be like, oh, this used to impact my hand and now it impacts my foot. And I'll give you guys a couple of suggestions for doing that. And one of the reasons that I really think it's important to give ourselves that freedom in yoga is because yoga ideally is a lifelong practice, and it's one of the most beautiful opportunities that we have physically to keep our body elastic and supple throughout the rest of our lives. But even given that, our practice is going to change. Right? That was kind of the point of my teaser that I put out yesterday. Some of you guys saw that. And so if we don't have that mental flexibility to give ourselves the opportunity to allow our practice to look different day to day, month to month, and absolutely year to year, then we're not going to be flexible enough mentally or physically to continue this incredibly beneficial practice. Push up onto your hands and knees, hands under your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, and make your way into cat-cows and any other versions of these shapes that you like. So I, in my body, get a lot of tension in between my shoulder blades, and so especially in this hands and knees position, I like to do some extra wiggling in that position. I like wiggling my way into poses and then finding static. So maybe that speaks to you. Maybe you like just doing plain old cat-cows, whatever you like, but beginning to introduce movement and beginning to introduce the idea of responding to what is showing up for you today physically. I don't know about you guys, but the smoke has been really impacting my breathing and my coughing. So I don't know how that's going to show up. Well, I'm going to probably cough at you guys a bit today, but maybe that's impacting you. Maybe that's impacting your energy level. So just notice, and please be responsive to rather than reactive to. And then come on back to a static pose and reach out your right hand with your thumb facing up, and then reach out your left leg. And first find some traction here. Maybe really reaching, maybe really engaging your whole arm, the backs of your arm, your fingers, noticing your left arm on the floor, also engaging. And make a choice. Do you want to reach out through your left heel, the point, and reach out through your left toes? But whatever you're doing, reach your fingertips away from your toes or heel. Inhale, and then exhale, cat your spine, knee to elbow. Inhale, reach. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale, reach. Exhale. knee to elbow, reach, and then this time, bend your knee, reach back with your hand and grab onto whatever you can grab. And if you can't grab into anything, then just kick with your foot and reach with your hand. But if you can grab, kick into your hand, stretching through the front of your left thigh, stretching through the top, side of your right shoulder, and stretching wherever else you might feel it. And breathing into whatever it is that you do feel. And then release, hand forward, leg back, put it down, and let's switch sides. So this time reach out your left hand, thumb facing up, and your right leg. And first find that, right? We got a balance element. We're going to do another balance element on the mat in a moment. Don't worry, I'll talk you plenty into it. So first find this. Get the traction, get the reach, get the engagement that you want today. Reach with your heel, reach with your toes, whatever you like, but reach, let it feel good, right? So you chose to do this practice. So engage in the practice, right? You can go through the motions. I don't even know what you're doing at all. Maybe you're sitting and watching me like this is a TV show. But if you are, hopefully not doing that, but engaging with the practice, get what you came for. Curl, exhale, reach, curl and exhale, reach, curl, exhale, unfurl, inhale, pause, bend your right knee, reach back with your left hand, grab your foot, your ankle, whatever you can, or you just go through the motion and kick. Reach, opening, getting the juices flowing, keeping your breath moving. So breathing as the key to this practice. Really let this feel as good as possible in your body, and then release, arm forward, leg back, and put your hand in your feet down, knee down, and walk your way to a high plank. So you might move your hands forward a little bit, you might scoot your heels back. In high plank, you want your hands underneath your shoulders and your heels pushing back. And really make sure right now, because we're going to do this balance thing. So I know that last week, if you were here, I was talking about making it wider. Actually, let's do that right now. Walk your hands forward and make your plank even more unstable. And you might notice that there's a lot of core engagement here, extra core engagement. Plank is always a pretty full body engagement kind of shape to put yourself in. But when you walk your hands forward, there's even more engagement here. But because it's less stable. But I want you guys to be more stable. So walk your hands underneath your shoulders. And then again, let's do this lifting thing. Lift your left leg. Let's start with the leg first. Engage your core. Find stability. And then when you're ready, reach your right arm out in front of you. Yes, it's challenging. So we put ourselves into challenging shapes, and we challenge ourselves to breathe calmly, or as calmly as we can. Put your right hand down, put your left leg down, and switch. So get stability. There's no hurry, you guys. And then lift your right leg up a little bit. Just a little bit. And you can kind of push into your left heel. Push your left heel back. Shift the weight into your right hand and lift your left arm. And maybe the challenge is really different on this side. You have different strength, We use our bodies differently, but we want to try to challenge ourselves and keep our breath flowing. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Put your left hand down underneath your shoulders and just send your hips up into the sky, downward facing dog. Let your heels sink toward the ground. Let your navel come towards your spine as you lift your hips up and back, and facilitating that lifting up and back by pushing into your hands. And then notice what's going on with your shoulders, and maybe allow your shoulder blades to soften on your back a little bit. Downward facing dog. Maybe you engage your quadriceps and push your knees away from you a little bit, the backs of your knees, pushing back. Let it feel good. This is your body moving. Walk to the top of your mat. Take small steps. And then when you get to the top of your mat, hang in ragdoll. So maybe your knees are bent again. You might want to experiment with this posture. So if you always have your knees really bent, maybe have them less bent or maybe more bent, etc. What do you usually do with your hands? I'll give you guys some options. You can bend your elbows and tuck your hands in the GOCA opposite elbow or grab opposite elbow. Maybe even you just change the cross of your hands here. Or maybe you bring your hands behind your back, interlace them, and allow your hands to come off your back toward the floor overhead. Or maybe you interlace your hands at the back of your head, thumbs by your hairline, and allow the weight of your arms to drag your spine a little bit further. But whatever you're doing, I encourage you, I invite you to try something just a little bit different. You don't have to. But if you don't want to, if you're saying, nah, I don't want to, is that just because you really like the regular version, your body gets something nice and yummy out of it? Or is it because you're reluctant to try new things? And if that's the case, I encourage you to explore that. Release your hands if you have them clasped in any way, and slowly roll up to standing and hanging upside down a bit here. So really take it slow. We don't want the blood to rush out of your head too quickly. And then when you get to standing, pull your shoulders around a couple of times. Forward and then back, and then reversing the direction of the roll. And then roll them forward, back, and down. And really stand up tall, engage your kneecaps, lift your quadriceps, shine your palms forward. But notice if you're poking out your ribs. I'm exaggerating here if you're looking at me. So do a little bit of a pelvic tuck, but you don't want to over-exaggerate that either. You just want to kind of think about bringing your lower ribs and your pubic bones a little bit closer to each other, engaging your stomach here. And then let's move through some sun salutations. Inhale your arms up. Grab your left wrist with your right hand. Inhale up and exhale over to your right, pulling your left arm over, getting a nice stretch through the left side of your body, and then come on up and switch sides, grabbing your right wrist with your left hand, pulling up and over, maybe pushing your right hip out to kind of get a half moon shape with your body. Try to look up and keep your chest open. Inhale back up, separate your arms, squeeze your shoulder blades together, cactus your arms. Inhale, opening your heart. Lift your arms back up, and then either swan dive or hands through heart center, forward fold. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, put your hands down and step back. High plank. Knees can be on the floor or off, lower halfway or all the way. Chaturanga or up dog comes next, or chaturanga or the floor. Cobra or up dog comes next. And then lift your hips, roll over your toes, downward facing dog. Ah. Look in between your hands and step, jump, hop to the top of your space. Halfway lift, lengthen your spine. Exhale, forward fold. Sweep your arms up with flat back, rise. Bring your hands together over head and pull your energy in to your heart. Inhale your arms up again. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Put your hands down and step back, high plank. Knees can be on or off the floor, lower, chaturanga, or laying on the ground. Keep your elbows by your sides as you inhale to cobra or up dog, pulling your heart forward and your shoulders back. Lift up, downward facing dog. Rock forward into high plank, lower into chaturanga. Rise up into cobra or upward facing dog. And what I want you guys to notice is where the weight is in your feet. And I invite you to roll the weight a little bit more onto the pinky side of your feet. Just play with that. And then I invite you to really roll your shoulders up and back and down again. And squeeze your shoulder blades together. Think about rolling the weight on the pinky side. Also, you could think about it as rolling your inner thighs up toward the sky. Keep your heart moving forward. Ooh, nice hold, you guys. Lift up. Downward facing dog. Look in between your hands. Step, jump, hop to the top of your space. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Rise, sweep your arms out and up, flat back, brings you to standing. Bring your hands overhead and pull your energy into your heart, making your own energy part of the prayer. Inhale your arms up, chair. So let's try what we did, I don't know if it was last week or a couple of weeks ago. Bring your hands by your sides and sink down a little bit lower. And then energy through your hands as if you're trying to, like you're a jet plane and the energy is flowing out of your fingertips. And then that little bit of pelvic tuck again. So not taking the curve out of your back, but just bringing your lower ribs in a bit. Sink down more. And then if you want arms up or arms at heart center, Utkatasana chair, also called fierce pose. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift, lengthen your spine. Put your hands down, step back, high plank. We're going to go through Sun B here, chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Lift your right leg up and let your left heel continue to sink. Bend your knee, open up your hip. And whatever feels good, whatever feels juicy here. But again, maybe you experiment. Maybe you shift your weight a little bit more. So perhaps you put more weight in your right hand here. Or maybe you put more weight in your left hand and you experiment with looking up under your right armpit. Bring your right leg back forward. Bring it through for a low lunge. Spin your back foot flat. Warrior one, Virabhadrasana one. Push into your back foot to get your left hip forward a little more. And you want that pinky edge of your foot on the mat. Nothing bad is going to happen to you if you don't do that, but that's the way the pose is taught. Bring your hands behind your back. Clasp your hands together. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Open your heart. Open your heart to all of the love and the goodness that's out there in the world for you. We are feeling so isolated these days, these COVID days. And There still is a lot of love and connection out there, so allow it to pour into your heart right now. And then with humility, let's bow forward, humble warrior. Bring your right shoulder to the inside of your right knee and let your hands come off your back as much as they will. Keep your right hip somewhat tucking in. Keep your breath flowing. Reach, let it feel good, and then rise up. Warrior one, open. Warrior two, straighten your right knee. Reach forward. We're going to come into triangle. So doing it a little bit differently. Reach, 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 really trying to get length on both sides of your body. And then tilt. Maybe you have a block, and you want to bring your hand to a block. Maybe you bring your hand to somewhere on your right leg. Let your left hand reach up, ideally directly over your face. So if you can, look up and look at your thumb. And if that hurts your neck, then look down and maybe neutral. Trying to get your crown of your head reaching forward as your hips reach back. So creating as much space in your spine as you can. And then rise back up, bend your knee. Warrior two, flip your right palm and come into reverse warrior. Be kind to yourself. Reach your right knee forward. Reach your right hand back. Let your left hand come maybe down your left leg or possibly behind your back, whichever feels good to you. Inhale, let it feel nice. And then windmill your hands down. Step back, high plank. Chaturanga. Upward facing dog to downward facing dog. Lift your left leg up, let your right heel continue to sink down. And the same thing, bend your knee, open up your hip, make some circles, and maybe you do it a little bit differently in the safety of this COVID, right? Where there is this isolation, but that might give you some freedom to do something that you'd be more self-conscious of doing among other people. So give it a try. Give yourself some freedom. How do we grow if we don't try new things? Bring your leg back up and through. Spin your right foot flat and rise up to warrior one. Bending into your left knee. Really allowing your left knee to bend. Up to 90 degrees even. That's a pretty dramatic bend. Allowing your right foot to be flat at maybe a 45-degree angle or whatever your ankle is going to be okay with. And then clasp your hands behind your back. And this time, as you squeeze your shoulder blades together, open up your heart and maybe lift your gaze. I invite you to send out some love. A lot of people isolated right now. And that isolation is increasing. Feelings that might have already been there, but we were able to distract ourselves from. Send out love. Whoever came to your mind when I said that. And if nobody did, just to all those people hurting in this world. And then imagining that our intentions actually make a difference. We humbly bow forward, humble warrior on the left side. Left shoulder comes inside your left knee or toward the inside of your left knee. Letting your hands come off your back. Keeping your left hip tucked in slightly. Keeping your breath moving. And then rise back up again, warrior one. Open up, warrior two. And then straighten your left knee and move into triangle. Reach forward. So I like to, as I come into triangle, I like to actively reach forward with my front hand and push my hip away. So I almost feel like I'm unfurling my spine here, trying to even out both sides, get both sides of my body flat. And then you tilt. Trying to bring the hand above your head. Keeping your breath moving. Keeping the breath, or I think I want to say using the breath to help find spaces in your body. Usually when I do this posture, my back cracks. And then come on back up, warrior two, and reverse your warrior. Keep your left hand moving up and behind you. Keep your left knee moving forward. Right hand down your leg behind your back. Freedom. Lifting from that crease in your leg and hip up as you continue to move forward. So moving again, not quite traction, but dynamic motion, and then windmill down, chaturanga, or all the way down to the floor, upward facing dog, cobra, to downward facing dog. Lift your right leg up, bend your knee, bring it through, low lunge, but this time keep your left heel lifted, and come on up to crescent. Push your right knee forward. Push your left heel back. Push your left hip forward. And then notice what's going on in your low back. If your low back is tweaky, bend your back knee a little bit more. Bring your hands to your heart and twist. Hinge forward, bring your left elbow to the inside of your right knee, outside of your right knee. So how do you always do this posture? And are you brave enough, willing enough to take the opposite version? So maybe, it's not really opposite, but maybe you drop your knee or maybe you lift your knee. And if you don't usually lift your knee, you're going to be a lot wobblier. If you don't usually drop your knee, and you do, you're going to find you have more room to twist, more stability to twist. So see, getting different benefits from each version, and then untwist, runner's lunge, hands inside your right foot, toe heel your right foot forward a little bit. And this is another, you could actually keep your toes tucked here. Much more active version of runner's lunge. Whichever version you're taking, let yourself sink into it. I don't usually lift my back knee. And so if you do, I'm doing that right now just to practice what I'm preaching, literally. If you like it less, I encourage you to actually stay and notice what comes up for you around being in a different version of it. Explore both the physical and the mental and maybe even the emotional sensations that come up. And then if your back knee is down, I ask you to lift it right now, and then take your right foot, bring it back to meet your left foot. You're in high plank, and make your way to downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, lift your left leg. Bring it through low lunge and rise to crescent, keeping your right heel lifted. Exploring the difference between warrior one and crescent. They're really similar postures, but just that subtle shift in how whether we have our heel up or down, right? It makes a big difference. That could be a big, long metaphor for life here. How's your low back? Check on that. Bend your knee if necessary. Bring your hands to your heart. Shift forward and twist. Left knee and right elbow. And again, do you want to put your right knee, your back knee on the ground? Or do you want to leave it up? And are you willing to try the other? What's your habitual one? Noticing the differences in taking a slightly different version of the posture, and then unwind and come into runner's lunge. So keeping the practice fairly familiar. right? So that you can take a familiar posture and put your body into it differently and explore. Explore all that comes up around it. You might even find, oh, I love this. And I invite you also, if you, I catch myself doing what I'm about to say. If you say, oh, well, I do actually, I mix it up quite a bit, so I'm pretty great. Notice the sense of hubris or self-satisfaction that might come even with that, and explore what that's about. Can you move into a little bit more humble stance? If your back knee's not lifted, lift up your back knee. Bring your left foot back to meet your right. You're in high plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, or cobra. If your knees aren't on the floor, drop your knees. Shift your hips back. Child's pose. Tuck your toes. Downward facing dog. Shift forward from down dog into high plank. Drop your knees. Shift back. Child's pose. Tuck your toes. Downward facing dog. Look to the top of your space and make your way there. Inhale to a halfway lift. Exhale to a forward fold. Sweep your arms up and out. Rise to the surface. Bring your hands together overhead and pull your energy into your heart. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Letting each exhalation be a completion of the past. If you have a strap or other strap-like implement, I invite you to grab it right now or just have it near you. And we're going to experiment. So I'm not going to talk. Come to chair pose, Utkatasana. I am holding up my water bottle because I was about to start blabbing on. But I've done enough of that. I thought I'd get you at least into a shape first. Okay, so we're not going to use the strap quite yet. Bring your right ankle to the top of your left knee. So your left knee's bent, and then chair. And then you bring your right ankle on top of your knee. And you might want to have a block or water bottle for balance. So you could stay right here, opening up your thigh toward the floor, right thigh, opening up your knee toward the floor. You can keep bending your left knee. I'm struggling a lot with balance today. Keep bending your left knee. You can bring your hands onto the support if you have one, or if you don't need extra support, you can bring your hands onto your left shin. So for me, balance is something that changes day to day. And I need to have a lot of acceptance, humility, and sense of humor around that. Because if I judged myself, even with capital S, if I judged myself by how able I am to come into these postures day by day, what a shaky foundation of self I would have. Who really cares? It's not about how you balance. Stand up and switch sides. Inhale, arms up. Chair pose. Left ankle on top of right knee. It's about how gracefully you get up when you fall. This posture is a hip opener for a lot of people. So maybe that's where you're feeling it in the outside of your hip here. A lot of that core engagement and tucking that we did can be helpful here. I'm having an easier time on this side than the other. Breath is always helpful. Breath is always your friend. Breath is also always in the present. Release. Inhale, stand up. And come on into chair pose. And then bring your hands to your heart. And then just forward fold. Grab your strap on the way down. And toe heel your feet hip width apart. And let's do gorilla. So slide your hands palms up underneath your feet and bend your knees so much that your toes rather, are on your wrist creases. So your wrist creases are this part here on your hand. I don't know how well you can see that, but I gotta bend my knees a ton to get there. So if you are one of those people who has this idea that yoga means straight legs, please let go of that right now. And also let go of your neck. Inhale to a bit of a halfway lift. Get length and then take that length down. The reason this shape is called gorilla is because we want to try to bend our elbows out to the side. You can also maybe, don't even do that, I don't care. Maybe you try to straighten out your legs a little bit. Maybe you experiment with rocking the weight forward into your fingers and really stretching through your hands. And then release your hands. And before we move on, let's do a wrist stretch. So come down into a squat and turn your hands so that your fingers are facing toward you. And allow your palms to be on the ground. So find where you need to. Probably your hands are going to be pretty close to you. And then what I want to do is get a stretch in the front of your wrists here. So start to walk your hands forward and maybe shift your hips back. And you can let the palms, the heel of your hands come off a little bit. And just breathe into that. Breathe into that feeling. Stretching is part of our arms that we normally don't stretch. Now, if you think about it, your hands are generally in almost exactly the opposite position to this, especially now with us being in front of our screens so much. So breathe into the sensation, breathe into a place of acceptance and humility. Okay. Release that. You might want to circle your wrists around a little bit. And then take your strap and loop it over. Well, you know what? Here's what we're coming to, okay? Maybe stand up for a second or squat down for a second. What we're coming into is a posture called Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, which basically means grabbing onto your foot and sticking your leg out. So if you saw that picture that I posted, I used to be able to I don't know if it was ever easy, but do that with my leg somewhat straight. And that's just not in my body anymore. So now I use a strap. Or you can also do it with your knee bent. But that's why I'm suggesting you loop the strap over your right foot, ball of your foot or arch of your foot. And if you know that you don't need the strap, maybe you just grab onto your right big toe with your first two fingers of your right hand. Bring your left hand to your waist and stand up and bring your foot with you. So maybe you can grab onto your toe. If you're using the strap, the idea is that you allow your leg to be straight and you stand up straight. So you're not. I would rather you use a strap. There's a humility thing, right? I'm going to turn sideways in case you're looking. I'd rather you use a strap, have your legs straight, and stand up straight, than grab onto your toe but be all hunched forward, or grab onto your knee. Any of these options are acceptable. And wherever you are, begin to bring your right leg out to the right, left arm out to the left. Stand up tall. And if you are willing to experiment again with your balance, look over your left thumb. What's the worst thing that's going to happen here? You're going to fall. And if you fall, what a wonderful opportunity to experiment with equanimity. Bring your right leg back center. Lift your arms up in front of you. Lift your arms up above you, I meant to say. Lift your right leg out in front of you. airplane, big asana. We don't get to fly as much as we used to pre-COVID. So fly now, soar, let your spirits lift like we did in Humble Warrior. Go visit somebody in your mind. Send it out, and then come on back present. And then come on up to standing. And we're going to switch sides. So, what the heck? Inhale your arms up. And then exhale, dive forward. And bring your strap, if you're going to use it, underneath your left foot. Or grab onto your left big toe with your first two fingers of your left hand. And bring your right hand to your hip. Stand up and bring your leg with you. And probably you're going to have a different experience on this side. So it's easier for me to balance on my right leg, and I have greater flexibility in my left leg. So I have a real different experience in this position. Right? You don't have to judge it. You can allow it. And then bring your leg out to the left. Bring your arm out to the right. Look over your right hand. Standing tall. Experiencing what you're experiencing and being present with it, not telling stories about it. If you're telling a story, come on back. And then come on back to center. Arms overhead, leg lifted. Airplane. Breathing in this position. Maybe squeezing your shoulder blades together and opening up your heart. And then make your way up to standing. And come to the top of your space. We're going to make our way down onto the mat. Inhale your arms up. Come to chair. Exhale. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Step back, high plank. Lower to chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Lift your right leg up. Pigeon pose. Right knee behind your right wrist. So, here's a posture where we have a lot of options to make subtle changes. So one might be, bring your right knee out wider than you normally do. And then walk your left leg back and allow your torso to drape. Another could be to experiment with, if your knee allows, to where your right foot is. So maybe you sit over on your right hip and walk your foot up a little bit, and then see how that goes. Maybe you sit over on your right hip and stay there and walk your torso a little more center and come on down that way. But wherever you are, I invite you to just do something different for the sake of it. Humor me here. My mom says that. Humor me here. And just feel it. Feel that maybe that slight difference is allowing you to increase the range of impact, to deepen even the benefits of yoga, because you're giving yourself the space to do something a little bit different, the freedom to do something a little bit different. And in doing that, increase the benefit that you're getting. Breathe. Wherever you are, please breathe. Getting it while you can. We're not in any of these postures, these poses. We don't put our bodies in these shapes long enough, almost ever. You might be like, oh, that's not what I think. And that's fair. Get it while you can. And if you're not on your right hip, sit over now onto your right hip and swing your left leg around. Janu Shirshasana. Bring the sole of your right foot to your inner left thigh. Inhale up, and then turn your torso over your left leg and drape yourself down. You want to always get length. So if you have a strap, you could use it here if you wanted. You could put it around your left foot to help you, if you can't easily grab your left foot, to help you get more length. But there's no end goal, right? It's just an ongoing exploration. And even if you're one of those rare people who can, let's say, put your forehead on your big toe, there's still always more room. More room. Those people who can do that just need to go further to get what most of us don't need to go as far to benefit from. Noticing how the longer you stay in this position, the deeper you can go because you're allowing your body to soften. Release the strap if you have it. Come on up, and we're going to come to pigeon with your left leg forward. So one way to do that is just to swing legs around. You can come back into downward facing dog if you would like, or just bring your left knee forward and your right leg back. And again, do you want to have your left knee out more than normal, or maybe your left foot up more than normal, or maybe your left hip on the mat and your torso a little bit to the right. But whatever it is, again, maybe just explore. And breathe into that exploration. How's your jaw? I've been noticing that underneath my mask, when I'm wearing a mask, literally, not sort of that putting on a show of not my authentic self version of wearing a mask, but literally when I'm wearing a mask, I hold my jaw differently and in this weird sort of tense way. So I've been trying to check in with my jaw when I'm wearing a mask, and also at times like this, that you might wiggle your mouth around a little bit, unclench your teeth. Become aware of that. Including that when we have our masks on and we're outside, there seems to be so much tension, so much polarization, a lot of fear in the world today. And that's something that we need to realistically be responsive to, but rather than hold it in our bodies, we don't need to carry that. Be aware of it, be aware of how it's impacting you, and then do your best to soften. Come on up, and let's take Janu Shirshasana. Sit over on your left hip, swing your right leg around. I feel like I was in half of a thought that I never finished, so I apologize. If I was in real life with you guys, I'd ask somebody to remind me. Sole of your left foot, right thigh. Inhale, twist over your right foot and allow yourself to drape down. Maybe